Life now has changed dramatically, and that was when I really had to, I went through like a mourning period, and so did a lot of other people, and then started having to try and find other things to fill that void. And that was a big change for me, and I thought, I'll never do that again. Never put all my eggs really into one basket.
But do you feel like in hindsight now that actually it was a good thing that it happened?
Yeah, because I think I've been there till I was 80. And actually, I needed to take a step back.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not getting any younger. I think I needed to find other things and maybe spend more time at home.
Hi, Sheila. Fantastic to have you on the show.
Well, that's brilliant, David. I am so glad you've asked me here.
Yeah, and I know you've had a very, very interesting life.
You don't know all of it,
no, not all of it, and I'm sure
I'll keep it clean.
Well, maybe not. The viewings will go through the roof. Yeah. The reason I've had you on the show is because your life is so interesting. But I'm not going to say anything about it because as part of the show, I like people to introduce themselves and give a synopsis, trailer of their life.
Absolutely.
Before we get into some of the questions.
Well, it's quite varied, David, but just a really short recap. When I was very young, we came from a very working class background. Never knew what I really wanted to do except be a farmer's wife. That's all I wanted to be when I was young. But then I went to dancing school from the age of 3. My dancing school teacher retired and a new lady came along. She was very ambitious. Because I was really tall, all of a sudden she thought, Bluebell girl. Now, some people won't know what a Bluebell girl is.
No, explain to me,
But it's
please.
a very famous showgirl nightclub at the Lido in Paris and also in Vegas and in Reno. So Miss Bluebell founded it in 1944 when the war was on. But anyway, I went to an audition when I was 15 for the Bluebell Girls and I got in. So I had to wait till I left school. So 2 days after I left school at 16, I was in Paris. I was on the stage at the famous Lido on the Champs-Élysées and I worked there for 2 years. And then progressed with my dancing. And then I decided, I want to come back. I came back to my first boyfriend from school. But then I went into teaching exercise. And then somebody spotted me to become a model. So I started modelling. And then from there, the modelling, I opened my own modelling school. Okay. And then my fashion show company, which was called Utopia Fashion Productions, so I did big fashion shows all over the place. Then I started doing some hospitality in London. So that was fantastic because we met so many people from the theatre. And then I carried on with the modelling, but then got into TV. So it was a shopping channel. Yeah. And so that's where I spent the next 23 years, still doing my fashion shows and things. Yeah. And then after that, this is where things have gone a little bit unstable because even at the age of 63, I still want to do something. So I'm still doing my fashion shows, a little bit of TV work, but it's hard to give up.
Yeah.
It really is.
I've traveled the tour for 35 years, whilst I'm not saying I will not, go back on tour at all with players if the right project comes along. But it is quite a decision to say,
enough's enough.
Enough's enough. Yeah. And I'm going to, try something else.
How good are you at gardening, Dave?
No, I'm terrible at gardening. So that's not a road I'm going to go. No. But as you know, as part of the show, I would like to know the 2 people that have influenced your life the most.
Well, let's say Miss Bluebell, for one thing, because that's where I got absolute discipline from. Because you're working 2 shows a night, you're doing rehearsals, you're dancing all the time, so it's really full on. Now, she didn't take to me because I had a lot of publicity being from a little village, but what she did was make me work hard And I think working hard then became my ethic. And that's what she actually instilled into us. So the discipline of work came from Miss Bluebell. She wasn't an easy lady to get on with, but obviously she had this massive nightclub with all these dancers. So she had to be quite sort of treat everybody with a rod of iron, really.
Yeah.
So that's where I think I got my discipline for work in life.
Would you say that the girls who survived that were the ones who just got on with it and didn't, moan too much and not, and complain too much? Because in my experience, sometimes the best people can be often the hardest people to get on with.
Absolutely.
And it's because they have such high standards that they expect everybody else to have that.
I think the girls that really did get on, they were already from like the Royal Ballet School, the Ballet Rambert. I was from a little dancing school above a shop in Keighley.
Right.
And of course, my dancing experience wasn't as great as theirs. So I wouldn't say I was the best dancer in the world. But I think it was a confidence thing as well. I didn't have great confidence. I think the people that really got on were full of confidence from being from a dancing school at real
So
young
having
age.
a dancing pedigree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting in tennis, if you've done very well as a junior and you've played the Grand Slams and been highly ranked as a junior, it definitely makes it easier to believe that you belong at the top.
The transition is easier.
Yes.
Because obviously I was at home, all I was wanting to do was the farmer's wife. Yeah. And I even met the boy I wanted to marry yesterday. Robert Emmett, that's what he was called. I had to go to an occasion and I saw him there. I've not seen him for years. But I think it's when you've come from something, a little bubble, from a little village where everything's nice, everybody's kind, then all of a sudden you go into this big, wide world when you're on your own, you're living on your own as well. Yeah. It's quite brutal, really.
But exciting at the same time.
Exactly, David. I mean, a young girl in Paris at 16, and I met Tom Jones, Shirley MacLaine, Charles Aznavour. There was everybody came to the show. And one of the ladies, just a bit of a snippet, before I went to the Bluebell Girls, my dancing teacher gave me a few private lessons with two real professionals from the Lido, and they went to Vegas. One of them went out with Elvis.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that was I was thinking, I wonder who I might meet.
So brilliant. And who's the other person that...
that inspired me through life? Yeah. It's a friend that I've known for probably 35 years. He's somebody that I still know now. He's 80 years of age. Okay. Still running businesses and opening a business soon in Tennessee. Wow. Now, he is a gentleman through and through, and I have seen him, what he's like with his work colleagues, and obviously he owns businesses in the UK, businesses abroad, he has properties all over, a network of properties, but he's so, kind's the wrong word, but
I think people mistake kindness for being soft.
As a weakness.
Yeah, but sometimes the kindest thing to do is to tell somebody to piss off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think being kind is, if you're being kind to yourself, you're also going to make the tough decisions that are kind to yourself. And if you're running a business, sometimes the kindest decision is to get rid of somebody because they're not quite up to the job.
Yes, and then they would be floundering in the job all the time. But I think some people do think kindness is a weakness, or they think being nice is a weakness. And I think sometimes that's what gets the best out of people, depending what environment you're in. But he's got a good portfolio of properties that he's got at the moment. He's thinking of buying another property in Switzerland. So it's just like, and he's so capable. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's got a mind full of history and anything you can ask him. And he seems to have absorbed everything and kept it in his head. So I do really admire somebody that's 80 now and still wanting to forge forward. I think that is a great thing. And he's not going to be gardening very soon. He's going to be carrying on with that business.
Well, I think, for me personally, and I don't know what the future holds in terms of health and everything like that. But in my head, just curiosity is such a big thing. And I think I'd find it really difficult to, fully retire and not feel like I wanted to get my hands stuck into anything.
When you wake up in the morning, you want to have a purpose. I think that is a great thing to do. Whether it is, that people have retired and they've got different hobbies, it's still a purpose.
Yes.
But I think getting off that gravy train of work is a very difficult step, especially if you've really enjoyed your job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. I think, I don't know if you've heard this, but Clint Eastwood, when he was 87, was, starting a new movie.
Yeah.
And one of his friends said, how do you do it? I mean, where's this energy coming from at your age and everything like that? And he said, when I wake up in the morning, first thing I say to myself is, don't let the old man in. and it's funny, that stuck with me. And
I'm going to remember that, David. Yeah. That old woman is not going to get inside here.
Yeah. So, I think, and I agree. I think, there are many retired people who have, hobbies and as you say, or interests in life that, they get out and maybe they go exploring the world or whatever, but they're getting up every day and
with purpose.
With a curiosity as to how the day is going to be. Yeah. I think it's when you sit at home and just watch television all day and everything like that. For some people that might be right, but for me,
it's
definitely
not enough.
It's not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Definitely. And there's one little snippet I will give you, whether I can say this or not.
Yeah, of course.
I once did a modelling job, and I didn't know who the client was going to be, but it was for sort of like older ladies' lingerie, as we thought. So I get to this lovely hotel and I'm waiting and there's two other girls there and they said, the client's not arrived yet. So I said, all right, fine. Anyway, they said, come and meet the client when she eventually arrived. Cynthia is in the other rooms. We didn't know who Cynthia was. But anyway, I looked at these rails and I thought, there's a little tabard and a little French maid's outfit and one thing and another. Anyway, Cynthia, you may not know Cynthia David. Cynthia Payne, yes. Now, I work with Cynthia, and I don't know whether I dare say this, but I did say to her, I asked her one question. I said, Cynthia, with all the men that you have met, what bit of advice would you give me? She said, it doesn't matter what you look like, love, but she didn't have a Yorkshire accent, obviously. It doesn't matter what you look like, love, as long as you've got enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think...
and I think that's for anything. Yes. She was talking about something a bit more risque.
Yes.
But I think for anybody, if you've got enthusiasm for life, that is infectious as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wrote a book, Locker Room Power, and the energy source that is the most powerful is enthusiasm.
Yeah, definitely.
Anger obviously is a very powerful force. But if you operate from anger, you get tired very quickly as well because it's such a big energy.
Into the wrong place sometimes.
Yeah, and the red mist comes over and everything like that. But but enthusiasm is a very healthy energy source. Yeah. And I think we can all feel it when we meet people who have enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
They tend to have a twinkle in their eye. And and it's just a zest for life.
And it uplifts you when people have enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I can't remember, I think it was an Australian friend of mine who said this and I borrowed it, but, that in life you have, what do you call them? I've just lost my thought.
Don't worry, David.
It's something like energizes and drains.
Well, this is it. Some people do zap you, and it's like, I'm a fire sign. I don't know whether I believe in it all, but I'm a fire sign. So if somebody comes along and puts like water on me just to make steam or a big puddle or whatever, I'm zapped of my energy. You know what I mean? And it's like a damper. It's like putting out my fire. And then I feel sort of tired, lethargic. I like people to boost me up.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you meet people who complain all the time.
Yeah.
it just starts to
negative.
Yeah. It's like, okay, life isn't perfect. Lots of shit happens in life.
It does.
And the world has always been cruel in a way, and if you're lucky enough not to live in that cruelty, that's something to be very grateful for. But I mean, people say, the good old days. Well, I'm not sure Second World War was that a good old day, or First World War, or Roman times,
absolutely.
or having Genghis Khan come into your city. Probably not too pleasant either. So, there's always been, tough. But I think, as much as possible, get on with life. And we all complain occasionally sometimes. But you've got to really kind of, I think, keep a monitor on that. Is like, it is draining if somebody's, or how are you doing? Well, and
then all the complaint. But I think people do tend to wrap themselves in cotton wool, and their life gets smaller and smaller because they don't want the challenges of life anymore. And I think that it just makes you very, very small inside your head and everything. I think you do have to embrace new things and new challenges just to keep you going as well. Yeah.
Technology, a little bit of a challenge.
Don't, David.
but trying to keep pushing that, AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
But reading about it and kind of understanding is very different from using it.
Yeah.
But that's a struggle. I will continue with it. So what event has, really helped shape your life, or really had a big impact on your life?
A big downer event was when I put my heart and soul into a job where that I used to travel away. So a company, a TV company. And I worked there for 23 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't go on holidays. I didn't even have a family because I put everything into my work. And I was a puppet. When I realised, because at the end of it, I went down this one particular day, and the atmosphere was shocking. And I went out to get some food, came back, and the whole car park had got people in it. People were in tears, one thing and another. And they just said, get inside now. You've got like 10 minutes to get your stuff. It had gone bust.
Oh, wow.
So we were just dropped like a hot potato. The people that had bought the company and it had gone bust, they were high flying and they were doing other things because they'd set up another business, one thing and another. It wasn't the money, losing the money. It was actually, I'd put so much effort into it in a time of life when probably I should have had more holidays, should have concentrated more on my family and everything. And I didn't. I was tunnel vision, filling that diary. I needed that diary full. I used to look and think, there's nothing there. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That needs to be full. And I was obsessed by that. And when I got dropped by a hot potato, it was like going into mourning. And I thought, what am I going to do? Life now has changed dramatically. And that was when I really had to, I went through like a mourning period, and so did a lot of other people, and then started having to try and find other things to fill that void. And that was a big change for me. And I thought, I'll never do that again. Never. Put all my eggs really into one basket.
But do you feel like in hindsight now that actually it was a good thing that it happened?
Yeah, because I think I've been there till I was 80. And actually, I needed to take a step back.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any younger. And I think I needed to find other things and maybe spend more time at home. I'm still trying. I'm floundering a little bit, but I'm still trying to find that happy medium, and that is hard to do.
It's very difficult, especially when your happy medium was actually mostly work. And
it's a bit like, I suppose, a professional sports person, a tennis player having a really bad injury, and then that's it.
Yes, and they talk about it in the same way, that it's like a mourning, like a bereavement, because you literally are,
top of your game.
Effectively, a career has died.
Yeah.
And you need to find the next thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I definitely get it. I mean, when I stopped playing tennis, I mean, I kind of gradually stopped, but when I made the decision not to play any tour tennis at all, anything to do with your ranking, and just play effectively for money, it was a big decision, because I'm saying I can't, make the top 100 in the world. I can't do that, or not can't. I don't believe I'm going to. And once you don't believe, you're not going to.
Yeah.
And took a different decision. But it does take time to adjust.
And I think it is that adjustment. But you don't give up. You just keep trying to find different ways, I think. So that's my little journey at the moment. But one piece of advice as well, that it was mainly came from my mum, and also the career as a dancer, the show must go on.
Yes.
Whatever it is, the show must go on.
Yeah, and I think you realize, even a huge character like Muhammad Ali, once he's gone, time, the world is the show that goes on.
Absolutely.
And people aren't, totally forgotten, but their relevance declines over time.
Of course,
And you just have to accept, the big show of the world rolls on regardless of who's in it.
I mean, you see pop stars going to Glastonbury, don't you? Are in their 80s, and you think they're still enjoying that, but it can't last forever, can it?
No, absolutely not. I'm going to ask you one extra question, which I haven't prepared you for.
Don't worry, David.
But in your interesting, dancing
varied
in Paris
life,
and varied life and everything like that, is there one story that stands out? I know you've told us, a couple of stories already.
With Cynthia and...
But is there another story that really, stands out and maybe has or a situation that stands out that you look back and go, wow, that actually was a bit of a seminal moment?
I mean, it's a real difficult one, because there was so many good moments. And then so many sort of a little bit negative ones.
I'm going to segue here and say, what was it like? So you've come from a small town in Keighley, and you're in Paris for the first time. You've done the training, everything like that. Your first opening night.
Oh, David.
Walking out there.
Right. The first opening night, you put into like 3 routines just to get you into the show. And we did a Japanese number with a big kabuki sort of like wig on and everything. And there was a big staircase. We had a waterfall out of brolly and what have you. And I was thinking, I'm doing so well.
I've been to the Lido, actually.
It is. So
it's quite something.
It is. It's a lovely experience. So I'm twiddling my brolly. I'm going down these stairs. And I'm going like this. The elastication on my wig, I've got it stuck on the flats at the back. So I couldn't get my wig out. So everybody else is trying to get past me as I'm stuck with my wig on the back of the flat. So somebody had to sort of like tweak it, and then I could go running down the stairs. But that was my first night. I mean, we had such fun on stage as well, because things did go wrong, or somebody had changed position or whatever. So it was, it was quite grueling, was the fact that you were doing 2 shows a night. But it was a great experience. And then I went off dancing to different countries, Japan and Spain and Tangiers. And I mean, I remember going to Tangiers, and we used to go out with all the diplomats and everything, be chaperoned, because you were in countries where, we were all tall and showgirls and one thing and another. So you did meet some really interesting people.
Yes, and I mean, we could talk all day about the stories, and we have spoken a number of times, as I said at the start. But it's really been a fantastic pleasure to have you.
That's nice, David.
Shelagh Brayshaw, just you are a light in the world, and I think, people that will come across on camera And, you've had a fascinating life so far. And I know there's a lot more to come, and I can't wait to hear about it.
David, let's hope so.
Well, we all hope so, for sure, but I think it's your enthusiasm shines through, and that's really a big message that I would like, people to take from this, is that enthusiasm is a fantastic energy source. And
definitely.
And it makes the world a better place, a happier place.
Yes.
And there's enough misery out there without adding to it.
Absolutely.
So brilliant. And of course, next week it's your turn to
interview me. David, yes, so,
and you've not given me
I'm not going to give you any questions, no.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Cheers.